Mindseye, the GTA killer that, God forbid, you get a finished product in 2025, makes the Saints Row reboot look great. There's probably so many words I want to use to just describe the experience that is Mindseye, but I feel like I can sum it up in one clip.
It f***ing sucked!
Currently 2025's worst rated game, Mindseye from my experience is the most broken, unoptimized pile of trash that I've ever played, and I'm gonna say, I loved it. And it's not because the game is good, it's because the game is so totally busted that it's laughable. Like, who in their right mind gave this game the quality stamp of approval? I understand there's deadlines to meet and they wanted to compete with maybe some sort of game out there, but my god, this game should have been delayed. Giving you a couple positives, the gunplay is pretty fun when things actually work, and the graphics are amazing when they actually work. I mean, my god, graphically, at some points in the game, mwah, chef's kiss masterpiece. You couldn't beat a game like this. There are also points in the game where the graphics totally suck because things are still loading in and it makes cutscenes look stupid. But on the negative side, alright everyone, let's try the horn and see what the hell? Am I being followed? What is going? Please tell me this is intentional. Is this supposed to happen? What you'll find in Mindseye is a game loaded with bugs and various issues. One of my most frequent issues was the game just outright crashing, whether that be by freezing or just taking me back to the dashboard. I would say this happened about 8 or 9 times during my entire playthrough. No joke at all, this literally kept happening, especially during the most important moments of the game. Like, you could be in the middle of a mission where you're supposed to be tailing someone or tailgating someone, I guess? And then all of a sudden they turn the corner and boom, game crashes out of nowhere, and then you're sent back to the beginning and having to do it all over again. So much fun. One of the other more notable issues that I experienced with this game was the NPCs that would spawn out of basically thin air. This seemed to happen a lot in combat sections of the game, which made it even more frustrating. Like, you could clean out an entire area of enemies, but then all of a sudden round one random corner that you'd already cleared out, and then there's an entire squad ready to split you open like a coconut. It also doesn't help that sometimes enemies would randomly spawn behind you in sections that you cleared out, which made it even more frustrating because those were always the ones that ended up needing the most attention to take out. The best one though was when I had to guide a guy named Morrison to safety, and he flat out said, "You go up, I'll stay here, and you can take on all the enemies," which I was completely okay with, only for me to clear an entire path which he hadn't moved up yet. And then all of a sudden, as I'm getting completely bombarded by drone rockets, decided to glitch all the way up to that area behind me. When I started to pull back, got killed in one shot by an enemy, and which ended up making me restart all the way back to the checkpoint 5 minutes earlier.
Oh, what the fuck ever?
Actually, you know what? I lied to you. I'm sorry. I have one better one for you. There's a point pretty much towards the end of the game where I end up at a military base, and I took out everyone in that military base. There was not a soul left in my vicinity. I scanned the area, I did everything correctly. So all of a sudden, I look at my bottom right marker where it says that I have to get back to the surface, look around, well, I'm on the surface, only to move towards a plane because I'm thinking maybe that's where my objective is because nothing's showing up, to all of a sudden see an entire army of soldiers spawn in front of me. Fuck! Clearing that base was about 20 minutes of my time that I could have gotten back, and I had to do it all over again, plus killing all those enemies. Oh my god, this game really, I think it really has raised my blood pressure. I think I'm not okay. Now, this game is an open world game, and I'm putting that into quotations because calling this an open world game is like calling McDonald's food healthy. Like, sure, the world is big and the world is open, but it's not really an open world because when you try to explore the world in the game, you're still in the middle of a mission, and when you're in the middle of a mission, people will talk to you, and when they talk to you, they're saying, "Hey, what are you doing? Get back on track." They're constantly reminding you that there's something to do, and I don't like that. I want to be able to enjoy this open world, and when you do try to enjoy this open world, there's nothing. There's like maybe these like little glitches, side missions, but that's very far and few, and it's not, again, it's not an open world. That's not what makes an open world game an open world. You'll see an open world in the post game, but the post game is just shit. Like, there was a point in the game where I really just wanted to screw off and take some video of the entire area so I could show you, the viewer, how beautiful the world kind of looked. And yet, as I'm trying to do that and take in this beautiful world that's in front of me, I'm constantly being reminded to get back on track. And to me, that's not an open world. That's not what makes these games fun. You're automatically just thrown into the next mission, even if you don't want to be. You can't enjoy the entire world until the post game, and that, to me, there's no post game that really makes this experience fun. It's not a real open world. It's just a world that happens to be open to you. To be honest, if you want my personal opinion, I think this open world just exists so you can drive from place to place when you're in the middle of a mission. That way it adds more time to the game, because when you take that part out of the game, it's a substantial amount of time that's removed and really makes this game a lot shorter. And the other thing that really prevents this from being a real open world experience when you're playing the story is the fact that you can't get out of the vehicle. Once you're in the vehicle during the campaign missions, you can't get out until you get to the next thing that you're supposed to be at. And it was honestly something that I didn't realize until towards the end of the game, where I was like, wait a minute, I can't even get out of this helicopter. No matter how much I kept pressing the Y button, it wouldn't let me leave. It was forcing me to stay on track with the game. And to me, again, that's not an open world game. You can't call this an open world, because by definition, an open world is a place where players can freely explore and interact with the game world. But you can't do that in this. You're just completely restricted to this stay on the straight path while being in this world that happens to be open. So no matter how many times you keep mashing it, easy, you're not going to be able to get out of that vehicle and explore that world. You're stuck until you get to the next thing. And it's a shame, because the world is truly beautiful and it's something that should have more, but there's no strip clubs, there's no gun stores, there's no restaurants, no bars, there's nothing, no casinos. There's nothing for the player to do in the entire game other than complete the main missions. One glitch I did forget to mention was the fact that I just kept spawning into a rock at one point towards like the middle end of the game. I don't even know how, because I was never near that rock. I never jumped on that rock, because sometimes the game will lock you from jumping onto certain places unless it's part of the script. One of the other things that completely drove me nuts was the GPS in the game. The GPS in the game is clearly part of the script that makes you go down certain sections of the game where you're going to see the most action, when in most parts of the entire map have no one on the roads. When you're going up to Silva's mansion, it took you down a road at one point in the game that is full of enemies that take out your car in like basically 5 bullets, and then you're forced to engage with everyone and you'll die in 5 seconds. So what I did is took the optional route of just driving through the desert. But what happens is the GPS will say you're further and further away from the objective, even though you're getting closer and closer. It's not until you all of a sudden pretty much are right on top of it that it'll say, oh, you're like a few feet away. There's also another part of the game, and maybe someone in the comments can explain why they did this. I have no idea. Maybe they said it in the game or there's some sort of instruction to it, but there's a timer during some of the sections of the game that will count down, and I was actually getting worried that it would cause me to fail missions for whatever reason, until at some point I said, screw it, let's just see what happens, and I sat in place and waited for things to play out. What happens? Nothing. It just goes negative. Why is it even there then? What's the point? Like, is the point of it to get some gold medal or something? I don't understand why it's even there. There's also side missions in the game, or glitches or memories. I don't know what they are. They're just random parts of the game that show a little rift in time. You go through it and it ends up just showing you some random event from the past that I don't think really has much to do with the main story. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 that did, but what the fuck is this? Like, one of the first ones I saw was some sort of like a guess tower defense thing. You just put 4 robots in a certain area and then like 4 or 5 enemies come out, they die, and then all of a sudden it's like, gold medal, nice job. What? What is the point of that? Like, I know there's something where players can design missions or something, but like, you'd think the developers would want to show off the best thing possible to make you want to use that feature. After doing that, I was like, I'm all set. I don't want to do any more of these missions. There's also points in the game where I got to explore just a little bit and some things just felt lazy. Like, I walked around the character's house, went into the bathroom and looked at the mirror, and the mirror doesn't even show a reflection. That just seems lazy. Why? Isn't that like a standard now? There's also parts of the game where you're just like, why? Why is this even here? Like, at one point in the game, it makes you take a helicopter, drop it off in a pit to destroy it, and I just went, why? Why am I doing this? There's no point. There's also just points in the game where it's just sloppy game design. Like, at one point you have to tail someone named Claudia, but while you're tailing her, you're flying a drone and just kind of following along so that you can download documents. But there's an AI controlling the player character in the car to kind of keep up with the drone, so like they at least stay within a certain radius. But the player character ends up tailgating her, even at one point rear-ending her, which would have blown the whole mission right there. Speaking of the drone, there's a little drone companion that the player character has that has various abilities to help like unlock doors, shockwave enemies, or just drop explosives. But to me, the drone companion becomes too much of a necessity for the player to use. Like, you have to use the drone companion towards the end of the game, or else you'll get completely dunked on by some of the NPCs. Not that because they're challenging, it's just because there's so many of them and that they take so many bullets. Outside of that, they're still pretty stupid. Now, speaking on that, the AI is very easy to cheese. There are so many times where the AI just like completely crashes out and just stops in place and doesn't know where you are, which makes it kind of funny at first, but then gets kind of annoying because they're just so incredibly stupid. And it's not like I was playing on easy or story mode. I was playing on medium difficulty, much to my surprise, because I thought I was playing on very easy or easy. And when I found out I was playing on medium, I'm like, this is What is hard like? What is easy like? I mean, it's probably worse. Like, there was one point in the game where I was at the top of a staircase and the NPC is staring the complete and total opposite way. There's a guy, one of his enemy companions is shooting at me. I take that guy out and the guy is still oblivious to me being there. I shot rounds in his direction, still completely oblivious that I was even there. I feel like every one of my shots is basically saying, please turn around and shoot at me. You also probably experience a lot of mission failures, which at first seems pretty funny when it does happen, but then it gets kind of annoying because it's really not your fault. A lot of the times it's the game's fault for just completely doing stupid things. It's getting stuck into a rock, NPCs spawning in random spots. Like, one of my all-time favorites was when I was in a high-speed chase with a character named Claudia. I thought I was able to catch up, but all of a sudden she must have watched a Fast and Furious movie and took off. Like in most of the games, you would not fail this mission. There's enough distance between you and the person you're chasing that wouldn't make you fail this entire mission. And the most frustrating part about the entire thing is she escapes anyway, not far from where you would end up possibly failing. It's just, why? What is the point? Now, your next question is probably, Bush, is this a good campaign? Is it worth playing?
You serious?
The story for this game is best summed up as terrible. Sure, the entire premise sounds pretty interesting and you have characters like Lincoln Clay, Lizzie McGuire's brother, and Psycho Pete, but the entire story leads absolutely nowhere, and by the end you're actually saying to yourself, did anything actually get solved? Did I even understand what the point of the Mindseye was? Because I'd say all the ending really does is just set up DLC. And it's funny because the game tries so hard to be taken seriously, outside of like one key moment.
Oh no.
Or maybe it was meant to be serious, I don't really know, but I remember just audibly laughing, which happens so much. The game is so ridiculous, and the things are so bad and just so dumb that you'll end up laughing at the game for what it's trying to do. Like, from the second you meet Marco Sylvia, or Lizzie McGuire's brother, he talks about his rocket and wanting to send it up to space. And it's the lead up to doing that where he forces your hand even though he's been shot and says, I need you to send off this rocket. When they send off the rocket, it's the most laughable part of the entire game. Because while everyone's cheering, I'm literally laughing at the game for such a stupid moment and going, why? What did this really accomplish? Because it doesn't accomplish anything. All it does is, I guess, set up that he can send rockets to space because you end up doing it again later. But why wasn't that rocket the one that you sent up? That's what makes no sense. Why not just do that later? And going to that piece about earlier where I said sometimes the game developers are just seemingly lazy. When they launch the rocket, if you take a helicopter and go out there, you'll find the rocket still sitting there. And if you go over to the window, you see all these people cheering for nothing, for no reason. The entire part of the rocket going up into space is pointless outside of, I guess, later on you do it again? Or at the early part of the game when they talk about how there's someone stealing data from the company and you end up getting on security cameras to see which pathway he's going. You know which pathway he's going? Past the security room that you're currently in. It's like the stupidest writing that is involved with this game. Why wouldn't you just go out there? Sure, there's people probably involved, but then for some reason the game constantly mentions, oh, we knew about these people anyway, that they were a bad faction. So if you knew this was most likely the people involved, why not go get your data? You clearly treat it as though it's very sensitive and very much needed and that it should never have left the building, but there the guy is, walking past the building. And for as infuriating as it can be sometimes to just witness storytelling just get completely thrown out the window, the character who ends up walking by you is named Conti, ends up having probably one of my favorite, arcs in the game, where eventually he comes back to the company, he ends up getting arrested, you bring him to his locker where I guess he has some sort of data that he can at least give to the main character, but the locker explodes. So you then have to resuscitate this guy, which is one of the worst mechanics in the entire game, is these little mini games that they have. But at least I entertain myself by singing,
staying alive,
okay.
staying alive.
You were in the parking lot earlier, that's how I know you.
Yet the best part about this character's entire arc is how it ends. It's basically because the main character kills him, even though the main character is told he's actually pretty important to your cause and your friends and could help you figure out what's going on. The character still kills him because for whatever reason. And you're gonna hear me say that a lot. I have been saying that a lot because a lot of the things in this game that just happen. A lot of the times it doesn't even make sense as to why those things happen. Because one of the biggest issues of this game is the fact that they just move on to the next thing without really tying things together. And that really is reflected in the ending of the game that just kind of lets you wonder, What was this all for? What did this all lead to? What did this all mean? Like, one of the other big examples of this is the character Claudia, who you chase down earlier on in the game. She ends up finding you, kidnapping you, and making you dig your own grave, only for her to get shot by other mercenaries that I thought she was aligned with, only for her to just kick the main character to the curb and take off and never be seen again. For what reason? Why did she bring you there? What was the reason for her wanting to kill you? None of it ends up getting tied together. I'd say that only thing of note while doing that entire interaction was just her trash talking you as you're digging your own grave.
Put your back into it. I haven't got all night.
This also seems to happen with the game's antagonist. There's a character named Conrad. After you kill pretty much all of his buddies, he's nowhere to be seen. He ends up just disappearing. The general character, who I guess would be the major antagonist in this entire game, ends up just being killed by another character in a cutscene. Then there's also another character named Bert Summers, which honestly sounds like kind of a porn star, who is described as being invincible prior to being pushed off a building, and only for that all to turn into a interaction showing you that he survived, and then you end up getting this like little boss battle where you shock him 3 times and for him to kind of, well, you get the point. The last thing about this game that really doesn't make it that worth it involving the story is the ending. The ending is very unsatisfying. It actually leaves you with a bunch of questions rather than giving you a bunch of answers, and the story, at least the entire cutscene, plays out like Mass Effect 3. Like, it was, the minute I saw it, I was like, this is Mass Effect 3, I've seen this before. And for it all to just be some crappy cutscene that I'm gonna guarantee you leads to DLC, I just don't think DLC is the right move right now. It just does not look good in my eyes. So here are my final thoughts on Mindseye. It's a game that had a lot of potential and looked like it was going to be good, but man, the execution on this game was terrible, and I really am disappointed by that. I was really excited for the game, and then I started hearing some rumblings here and there as like that really indicated that there was a lot of red flags with this game, and I think we're here. I'm gonna give this game a score from Slammin' and Jammin' Rebecca Black's Friday.